And a deep run here, I think that would vindicate the decision to move north of the border.
Yeah, well, Phil, everybody that's lagged on this table, I mean almost everybody, has come up short of the top rail. I don't know if it's the money or the muscles that are causing this.
Or the cushions.
I didn't want to say that, Phil.
In all seriousness, the conditions here have been absolutely tip-top. There's a great need for air conditioning here because the temperatures outside demand that. Sometimes when you have air conditioning, it can affect cue sports, snooker, pool, whatever. But all of the players here are saying good things about the tables, as you might expect for a World Championship.
Yeah, they all have talked highly about the equipment and the venue. Excited for this match. Elliott, in my opinion, is having one heck of an event. Seems to be extremely comfortable.
As the referee just goes through his final formalities, Sanderson getting ready to break.
Well, that's a good look at his first break. 2 not going to cooperate. But the 1 did. Calling the push out for those of you just joining us. The player at the table has the option to roll the cue ball anywhere he wants. The oncoming player has the option to take it or give it back. Melling looks like he's taking it on. Most likely going defensive. Played to overcut it, maybe caught it too thin. Would have liked to have gotten behind the 8 and 9. Elliott quickly out of his chair. Doesn't want to clip the 7. Oh boy, this is ideal. Chris Meling, what a pure talent he has been for many, many years, Phil. I know you know a lot more about him than I do. I do know we've been pretty good friends for the latter part of the last decade to a decade and a half.
Yes, I think he's got a fair claim to be the most versatile cueist on the planet. He's played on the World Snooker Tour. He's made 147 breaks. He's played English 8-ball to a very high standard, and of course, we all know what he's achieved in 9-ball. He's a former China Open and Derby City Classic champion. MVP in the Moscone Cup as well.
Yeah, and look at this shot. What a great kick that was. Played this to catch the thin side of the 2, knew the cue ball was coming up, had a great chance of getting behind one of those 3 balls, the 7, 8, or 9.
It's been a case of living dangerously for Elliott Sanderson. He won his first match 9-8 against Luong Doc Tien. Then he won his second in winners qualification against Mustafa Alna 9-8. The decider was remarkable. He broke off, couldn't decide what to do. He took an absolute age to make up his mind. No shot clock, of course, on the outside tables. When I say an age, it must have been at least 4 minutes. He kept getting up, getting down, getting up. Eventually he played a quite banal push out, and he actually said as he walked back to his chair, to no one in particular, I took too long on that.
Well, Mike McMullen obviously told me the same situation, and he must have just had a brain freeze.
Yeah, that was it. But anyway, Alna immediately played a poor safety shot on the 2, and Sanderson cleared up, so that's why he qualified for today, and then played very well against Roland Garcia by all accounts. But you'll see on the back of his shirt maybe a little later on, his nickname is the Shouter, because when he wins he lets off a blood-curdling scream. Even in the most subdued moments it's a decibel-inducing shout. So if he wins this match, which is one of the biggest of his life, you can guarantee he will raise the roof.
And speaking of raise the roof, he threw his cue about 4 foot up in the air, I believe yesterday evening, and caught it in stride during his little celebration.
Yeah, he looked like one of those leaders of a marching band at a college football game, twirling the baton.
Yes, he did. Watch out here. Did you get a fortunate rub? Heavy into the 8. Still clear on the 6. Here we go. Clean. Snow.
Oh, that's nicely cued. That bodes well.
Yeah, he looks like a completely different player from the guy that I commentated last night.
He's definitely walking around with a lot less pain, you can see.
He's going to go into the 8 here.
Chris Melling, one of the most sweet cueists in pool, takes the opening rack. We've described this as the Battle of the Brits. Yes, it's also a battle of 2 Englishmen. And actually you can take it down even further. A battle of 2 Yorkshiremen. They're both from the county of Yorkshire. As we've said before, Elliott Sanderson, born and raised in Barnsley. As for Chris Melling, he lives in Keighley. Now, Barnsley is a very famous place in British television history because it was the birthplace of Michael Parkinson, the great interviewer, TV interviewer. I think his equivalent in the States would be Dick Cavett.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's a coal mining town, is Barnsley. We've had some pool there in the past. We've had some snooker there in the past.
Well, Melling winning that game, all stemming from an error from Sanderson. Sanderson trying to swerve around the 9, caught a piece of it, allowing ball in hand for Melling. Well, all signs looking good for Chris. over in front of the 6 and 9. Don't know that the 4 passes the 8 in the top right, but it definitely clears in the top left. And he's hitting the clean part of the pocket. Not a good sign for Sanderson.
At the end of this rack, I'll get you right up to date with all of the very latest results and current scores out there. Little zesty with the cue ball, Scott.
Yeah, a very good term for it. Zesty. It was. Wanted an angle, wanted to be below the 4. But I don't know, this might be a little too steep. The reason he wanted to be below the 4 is because he wanted to try and slide down one rail below the 5. Doesn't want to have to deal with any type of combination.
I'll tell you what, right at the end of its path, that cue ball just tipped over, and that could make a big difference.
Yeah, it could make a massive difference. It definitely looked like it took a little turn to the left. And going airborne is Elliott. The good news is if he keeps the cue ball up there and doesn't make this, the 5 is still in trouble.
Elliott knows all about Chris Meling, how he can dominate a match. Meling and Imran Majid played in the World Cup a few years ago as Great Britain B, and they played Great Britain A. Elliott Sanderson and Jason Shaw. And I'll tell you what, talk about a lockdown. They completely controlled the exchanges. I think it was 7-0. Sanderson and Shaw repeatedly came to the table in big trouble, often hooked. If they weren't hooked, they had an enviable safety to play.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I probably would have put Sanderson and Shaw as a slight favorite, but clearly not. A 7-0 beatdown. Something happened there. That's just a mishit. Neither one of them want to deal with the 5.
The cue of Johan Chua goes in the air. At Hill Hill, he has beaten Max Lettner by 11 racks to 10. Chua now plays Mohamed Soufi tomorrow for a quarter-final place.
Yeah, Phil, and even the quiet at this event, letting out sounds of emotion, if it tells you what it's worth here. Chua giving out a little shout after making the 8.
Yeah, that would be akin to a whisper. I can tell you if Elliott Sanderson won this match. We're in Jeddah, you'd hear him in Riyadh.
And back here, in reality, Chris Melling snookered himself on the 5. He really likes to measure these kicks out. If you go to YouTube Chris Melling, or go to Matchroom TikTok page, I'll tell you what, he's done some amazing things when kicking at pool balls. But this looks like he's going to leave it. So you got to wonder, Phil, at that pace there, was he trying to come across the top of it and just leave Elliott awkward on the 5.96?
Now this is interesting. If you were with us for our first match on this table this evening, you'll know that Jason Shaw, and indeed his opponent at times, had the cue ball cleaned on so many occasions it was hard to count. And now the same thing is occurring with Elliott Sanderson.
Yeah, and it was earlier in the match versus later in the match with Shaw. Like you say, same thing happening here. Well, he'd like to tuck down.
Now we've got a problem because Elliott Sanderson is insisting that the referee did not put the cue ball back in its original position.
Well, I've almost got to agree with him. I feel like he was a little bit straighter. He's got a little more angle. I think that's actually going to help Elliott because he needs to come back to a line left of the 9. Now from here, Phil, it looks like he's got a much steeper angle. Yeah. And he did. By the way, he had to play that. Look at how these have finished. Did the 5.6 happen to be on? Pretty thin. Taking a look at it now. If it's not on, well, the risk or the danger, and from this angle it doesn't look on. I think that might be a little misleading. But if it is on, he's going to have to play it aggressively. If it's not on, he's got to try and get up behind the 7, but he's going to be worried about accidentally making the 6. Yeah, a little touchy here. Looks to me like he's playing it. No, there's no way. I don't think it goes, does it? Oh, it does go. He had a gap there. How is this going to finish?
Haven't seen the shoulder slump. That means the 5 goes past the 9. Oh yes, it does. It did go past the 9, but he caught it too thick. He caught it too full. That's a chance burned.
Yeah, and if a lot of you haven't seen Meling play, this is his style. He just gets on with it. Is he coming backwards or going 3 rails here? Okay, I thought that was the right move. Coming backwards, risking crashing into the 9.
He stands still when he's playing. He needs to stay still when he's playing the shot.
Now that's very sporting of Chris Melling. He was involved there. Got the back of his opponent saying, can you stand still while Elliott's playing?
Yeah, and a lot of spectators just don't understand. There was a gentleman walking around right to the right of his vision. Elliott's.
I'll tell you a story about that after this rack is over. You'll enjoy it. I didn't, but you'll enjoy it.
Phil, I enjoy all of your stories.
Oh, this one was at my expense.
Well, I don't know if I'll enjoy it then.
Oh, you will. And I think Elliott Sanderson's going to enjoy this rack because he's a 9-ball away from drawing level. Not the cleanest of pots, but it's in any way. The first 2 racks have been shared. Yeah, so basically what happened, just the movement behind the pocket there brought this to mind. I'm commentating on snooker with 6-time world champion Steve Davis, who is one of my great heroes. He remains so. So I'm a little nervous anyway. It's early in my career, and I'm sitting next to the great Steve Davis. Anyway, someone moved behind a pocket, and the player missed a ball as a result. And in a very sort of profound way, I looked over to Steve and said, well, Steve, in my experience, movement is more off-putting than noise. And Steve said, what experience is that?
Oh, no. Well, I mean, that's pretty cold-blooded that he put you on the spot like that, Phil.
Well, he was only joking, but it didn't sound like that to me. I was a blubbering mess for about 3 or 4 frames.
I would have been too.
What experience is that? Yeah, every time I see him, I always bring it up. Some developments lately. Good news for Joshua Fuller. He's made a flying start against Oscar Dominguez, 4-0 ahead. And the other giant in action at the moment, Shane Van Boning, 3-1 up on Alexander Kazakis.
And to talk about, oh, look at the kiss. To talk about Filler, he was trailing 9-4 in his last match. Similar to Federer Gorst, I think when you're trailing by such a big margin and come back and win that match, you're kind of freewheeling going forward. Filler going to be tough to beat the rest of this week.
Yeah, playing on house money.
Exactly. And I'd like to think the same of one Federer Gorst.
Yes, he's still to play his last 32 match, which is going to start imminently against Chang Yulong. That will be on table 6. And the other match to start will be Anton Raga against Mario He on table 10.
Yeah, Elliott quite weak there. Want to come up quite a ways above the 8. Yeah, playing all cue ball here, and it went wrong. I actually pointed to wanting the 3 to get back towards the middle of the top rail, up there behind the 8.
I'll tell you what, if there was a competition for the best shirt, Meling might win it. Look at the garb he's got on here. The magician with all of the playing cards. And
yeah, it is quite the shirt. Well, he's really is hitting the pocket clean. I know it's early so far. You've got to favor the man in red. Have I spoke too soon again, Phil?
Yeah, needed a much fuller contact. Just skimmed off the 7. No good. That was, though.
Yeah, that really was good. Some good things can happen coming behind the 6 here. Using a high right ball, you can kill this cue ball off the back of the 6. High English basically acts as low English when kicking off a rail. It will stop or stun the cue ball. And you don't have to hit it too hard. Just caught this too thin. Well, it's caused a little bit of a mess. I don't know that the 7 plays. Well, here on the overhead, it looks like it does. Very long bridge right there from Melling. Got to be extremely accurate to get this down with that type of bridge. Very few can get away with it. Shane Van Boening, Earl Strickland in his prime. Oh boy. Let's not take it too far, boys. It's a big space. People are going to be walking around. Tensions are high, Phil.
Yes, they most certainly are. The referee and Meling now having words.
No, the referee,
sorry, the referee's having words with a member of the crowd.
Yeah, it looked like referee and Meling were having words until they panned this direction. I think something with the phone or a camera, Phil?
Yes, the referee doing a good job here explaining to the crowd the importance of staying still, especially in the line of sight. Now, at the end of this rack, I'll tell you another cracking story.
All right.
Involving another great of the snooker world, Alex Higgins. And it does involve movement, or perceived movement.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, listen, we're all pool players and it's not easy. And I completely get this situation. The money is higher than it's ever been. You know, there's a lot at stake here. But these fans, I don't think that they're all used to having an event of this magnitude. So it kind of goes both ways. Like you said, I think it's great that the referee went over and kindly explained to everybody how important this is and what not to do. You just don't want to be frozen as a fan to where you can't move. Nice strike there by Sanderson.
Well, Sanderson, it seems, making his move from 1-0 down to 2-1 up.
Well, he's gotten off this ball 3 times now.
This is something that he does.
Interesting fella. I like him.
Yeah, Elliott Sanderson really good for the game. But will this game be good to him? Striking down on the cue ball. I know for certain that Chris Melling doesn't enjoy playing someone who plays slowly. He was annoyed with Aloysius Yap earlier in the tournament. But you can't fault that. In it goes. Elliott Sanderson leading by 2 racks to 1 as Meling leaves the arena. So, we're at the World Championship qualifying competition as we see that 9-ball go in. World Championship qualifying competition in Blackpool, which is a resort town in the northwest of England. Playing is Ty Pishit, who was from Thailand, up against Alex Hurricane Higgins, who was the most volatile player potentially in snooker history.
What year?
I would say late 90s.
Okay.
So Higgins is behind in the match, but he's on quite a big break. Anyway, he gets down to play a shot. I think it was the yellow. And the referee is John Williams, who was one of the most senior officials in the game. And John was standing behind Higgins to his left-hand side. So Higgins said, "Can you please move?" And John said, "No, I'm not in your line of sight." And Higgins said, "No, but you're in my line of thought."
Well, that's pretty strong. That's a pretty strong statement because he was probably telling the truth.
So, what happened? Williams stood his ground literally, refused to move. Higgins cleared up the colours, crying. In goes the yellow. Sob, sob, sob. Green, sob, sob, sob. I think he cleared the table. It was certainly a century break. Potting the last 6 colours, crying.
It's absolutely fascinating. I've heard so much about Higgins. I guess you're completely blessed to be around these guys. But
well, of course, Alex Higgins had a pool history because he played in the early Moscone Cup.
Yeah, and I've saw that. I've watched the story about that many times, and I've studied Higgins myself. What a legend. Well, look at this break, Phil. And that's a pretty entertaining story. You're in my line of thought. I like it.
Now, I promise at the end of the next rack, I will not give you an ancient story about snooker. I'll give you the latest scores and the latest positions.
I could listen to it all night long.
I am guilty of digressing occasionally.
There's nothing wrong with it from me, Phil. I'll tell you what, that break, though, if you could patent that break, there's not a player in the building that wouldn't take it.
Could this be the breakthrough that Elliott Sanderson has been waiting for?
Well, he's had a great week so far. You just keep hearing his name and hearing about his celebrations. And, you know, I think he comes in to this tournament a little bit underrated from what I'm seeing. This must be tighter than it looks, and it is. Yeah, clean hit. Can he draw up the right long rail? Or does he have too much angle? I think he can hold. Tell you what, he's got a lot of nervous little ticks to him, doesn't he, Phil?
Yes, and I think if the match goes close, with no shot clock, you could see quite a lot of time spent on each shot. It's not that he's trying to upset Melling's rhythm. He just can't pull the trigger sometimes. It means that much. Not saying technically he's got the yips, he hasn't. He cues well. Just saying that in terms of decision making, sometimes he can't pull the trigger.
While the balls continue to go straight into the back of the pocket. So whatever he's doing seems to be working.
It's 3 racks on the spin for Elliott Sanderson. Chris Melling faces an early deficit. Right, this is how it pans out. Mickey Krause won earlier, 11-6 over Billy Thorpe. So in the last 16 he will play Dang Junho, who beat Lee Van Corteza 11-8. Mohamed Soufi came through 11-7 against Badr Alawadi. His next opposition will be Johan Chua, who came through in a nail-biter 11-10 against Max Lechner. Tomorrow, David Al-Qaedi will line up in the last 16 as well, having beaten Jason Shaw 11-8. He now faces Jeffrey Ignacio, who overcame his fellow Filipino Patrick Gonzalez 11-7. Eklund Kachi beat BJ Ussery 11-4 and will face giant-killing Mark Bosch, who was also an 11-4 winner over Ko Ping Chung. Now the latest scores: Shane Van Boning 4-2 over Alexander Kazakis. Wojciech Szewczyk 7-6 over Piers Labutis. 7-6 also for Victor Zielinski against the oldest man left in the tournament, Ralph Suke. Zhao Grio, he defeated Naoki Oi 11-4. Joshua Filler, one-way traffic, he leads Oscar Dominguez 6-0. Mario He has taken the first rack from Anton Raga. Fedor Gorst and Chang Yulong still involved in their first rack. And then, of course, we turn to Sanderson and Meling.
Yeah, watch the cue ball, Phil. In the drink. And you bring up Fedor Gorst. I've talked about him all week. As you see the one followed quickly by the cue ball. Fedor trailing 7-0. I know it's the big story. Comes back and wins. He's going to be in for a long haul again tonight, right? He's expended a lot of energy. Yeah, he's young, but he's also human. What kind of impact will that have on the rest of his event? Well, he's got to get through tonight to begin with. Quite a bit of deceleration there. I'd like to have gotten out another foot or so. That's a result.
Do you recall he had a great chance? He didn't squeeze a ball past the 9 when he was on the verge of winning a rack. Now that one goes astray. Worrying times for Chris Melling fans and for Chris Melling himself.
Yeah, and here you have Elliott back to cleaning the cue ball. You got to wonder if the paint turned on him a little bit, that being Melling. I think he just missed the ball. There's things that go on with these pool balls that only the two guys at the table can see, though. I can attest to that. He's looking to come into the back of the purple here. Now looking to come up and down. Everything real quick before he pulled the trigger. Backswing. Pretty erratic. Didn't look like it in the slow-mo, but in real life, pretty quick in the backswing. Well, he's fallen on the wrong side of the purple, Phil. He's going to have to come around. Well, this better stop spinning, or it's going in the drink.
Well, the magician's latest trick has failed. Did well to avoid the 9, but the pace on the cue ball meant what should be a rack-losing scratch.
And that was all a result of coming up short on the 5. I feel like this could have been a little better. And looking at the table live, it definitely could have been better. I'm sure he can manage. But he just had ball in hand.
He exudes nervousness. He's jittery, Elliott Sanderson.
Yeah, he's making me jittery, Phil.
He just cannot disguise the fact he's like a cat on a hot tin roof. Dare I say, that positional shot, far from perfect.
Oh, you're killing me. Yeah, pretty good hit here. It needs to settle. Oh, I think it's ended perfect. All right, back to reality here. He can make this ball. Life good for Elliott.
And no amount of nerves will prevent Sanderson potting the 9, surely. The cat on the hot tin roof has really got his claws into this match. He leads by 4 racks to 1. Now, shock horror, would you believe it, Fiddle Gorsht is behind. He trails Chang Yulong 1-0. Mario He 2-0 up on the Dragon, Anton Raga. Piers Labutis and Wojciech Szewczyk are now all square at 7-7. No movement in the filler match. He's still 6-0 on Oscar Dominguez. What an array of talent we have in this arena. Of course, this is all alien territory for everyone playing for $250,000 first prize. We have to take that into consideration when we talk about the level of nervousness, the pressure that's being faced by all of the players left in the championship.
Yeah, we said it at the start of the show up on the stage. I feel like since day one, you know, and I've been to most of the majors, I feel like since day one, you could feel a little extra tension in every one of these guys. They'll be apt and quick to tell you it's not the money, but it's so hard to keep it out of your mind.
So many players say you can never replicate the tension of a Moscone Cup. I reckon the 2 finalists might change their minds.
Yeah, very possible, Phil. Well, I like this play here. Elliott looking pretty good. As soon as I said I thought the man in the red might be favored, everything went sideways.
Well, in terms of the ledger, he really is in the red now. 4-1 down.
Yeah, and I believe at that point he had an opportunity to go up 2-1. Was on the 6. Had a little riff about being sharked. Missed the 6. Since then, no real opportunities. Well, he did scratch 2 rails in the lower left corner last game. Sometimes you wonder if Melling put as much energy and time into his shots as he does his kicking, how good would he really play? Well, he acts like he got lucky, but really a great hit. Played to go to the second rail, caught it full. Yeah, of course, with the kiss. Got pretty fortunate, but still, it pays to hit him. Three's going to open up here. Pink 4 on the lower right. Big shot here on the 3. You get this down, you've got a good chance to get 2 games under your belt. Very nice transition. Great swing. He'll be fine here, but you get the feeling he'd rather be a little left or right of the 6. I don't know if he's exactly straight. Makes it a little tougher on himself. Just a little extra distance on the 7. Well, Chris has gotten off the ball again.
Much needed, gratefully received. Chris Melling pulls one back. Elliott Sanderson leads now 4-2. Well, the Fedor-Gorst deficit did not last a great amount of time. He's won the second rack against Chang Yulong. It's 1-1 there. Mario He 2-1 upon Anton Raga. Joshua Filler, after that comeback against Fitim Haridinaj, is just steaming away against Oscar Dominguez. Filler leading 7-0. At his best, I think he is the best Filler. He's just explosive. Victor Zielinski, 7-6 up on Ralph Suke. It remains 7-all Wojciech Szewczyk against Pius Labutis. And now Shane Van Boening. He made a really good start against Alexander Kazakis. He is in front, but only just on table 2 at 4-3. If you want to see the Shane Van Boening match, by the way, it is available on the Matchroom Multisport YouTube channel.
Yeah, and mentioning Filler, nobody better when he's at his best. I've never seen anything like him.
It's the whole package. Normally, something is bestowed on a player of exception. Potting abilities maybe, position, a safety game, coolness, nerve. He's got them all. I suppose you could say he's a bit like a baseball player, the 5-tool player. He's got everything. No weakness.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Melling struggling to come away with a shot after the break. He's going to be forced to roll out here. Bringing the 8 down table. He used the 8 because he could easily control the cue ball from that distance.
As we talk about Phil, by the way, he's just gone 8-0 up.
And you don't want to believe that that has anything to do with how Oscar's playing. It's most likely just the Joshua Filler show. Oh, and he's caught the point. Oh, and look at this. It's caught the gap, but there's no pocket. Friendly little rub off the left side of the 6. No rail. Well, a very unfriendly little rub off the 6, causing the 2 not to get there. Wow.
Well, we've used the phrase before this evening in a different context. I always think that kind of shot when no contact is made with a cushion, it's a form of brain freeze.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you for the most part. That was a little tricky because he was just trying to lag it up to the top end.
But the ultimate sanction is ball in hand.
Agreed. And here, he's left himself pretty straight on the 2. Once again, a little awkward off a ball in hand. And now Phil looks to be pretty straight. Can he come down for the pink in the left middle? Or is that too low? Looks to me like he thinks he can punch over. Hard to tell. Now, looking at the pink in the left middle. Well, he's gotten a lot out of that shot.
Yeah, fine effort that. The reason he keeps going back to his chair, he's got this habit of wiping his cue with the green cloth you can see there, which he keeps moist.
So that tells me that his eyes do not like to see any dust from the chalk or anything else on the shaft of the cue. Players very particular of things like that. Elliott must be one of them. I don't know, Phil, if you noticed it or not, but the backswing really quick again.
It's the colour purple and it came out of the blue. A routine shot. And at the end of it, all he was doing was apologising for the fluke hook.
It can be a brutal game at times. entertaining a kick. I'd say about 70 to 80% of the players on tour would have already measured the jump shot out. Melling fancies the kick. A very tough ball to kick. It's out in the middle of no man's land. Where do you find protection? What do you have in mind? Well, that's what he had in mind. He knew if he could catch the thin side of the 5, a lot of good things could happen, Phil. Pretty fascinating shot. Did Elliott get the gap?
Well, if it is available, I think Chris Meling will be not best pleased. No, he's lifting the butt of the cue in the air. That tells its own story. But the pot might still be possible. It was.
Yeah, I almost wonder if he had the gap and he needed to elevate to avoid the top right corner.
Yeah, just what I was thinking, actually. Things are going Sanderson's way. He missed a very bad ball in this rack, and it looks as though it's not going to come back to bite him.
Yeah, and another good thing for Elliott, he's left-handed, so he can get over this without any trouble.
Can't imagine he'll miss this 9 to the centre. Elliott Sanderson keeping Chris Meling at arm's length. His lead is now increased to 5-2. He's looking good. Joshua Filler is looking unassailable. I can tell you, on the main table, he's one rack away from whitewashing Oscar Dominguez. He leads 10-0. Shane Van Boning 5-4 now over Alexander Kazakis. Piers Labutis and Wojciech Szewczyk locked together at 8 racks each. Victor Zielinski 8-6 up on Ralph Souquet. Two matches that have only just begun. Mario He 3-2 on Anton Raga, and after losing the first rack, Fedor Gorst is in front early. Now there's a turn up for the books. He's 2 on ahead of Chang Yulong. So 9 of the 16 last 32 matches have been completed. 7 more to go. Then of course it's the penultimate day of this World Nineball Championship in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Tomorrow afternoon it's the last 16 in its entirety. Then tomorrow night the quarterfinals before Saturday arrives, and we have a fantastic last 4. 2 semi-finals in the afternoon, and the biggest match of the year at night, a race to 15 for $250,000, and for the runner-up they will be considerably consoled with a cheque for $100,000.
Yeah, and you're talking about 10-0 with filler. Well, there's a $2,000 bonus for whoever breaks and runs the most racks this week, Phil.
Yeah, but that comes in after the last 16.
Oh, I thought it was after the last 32.
No, so it comes in tomorrow, that. Yeah, so I think his brilliance might not go rewarded, but to be honest, he's through, so it will be richly rewarded.
Absolutely. I'm curious as to how many racks he's run in order to have Dominguez 10-0.
Well, I would think it would be an unscientific way to say it, but I think it's accurate. I think he's run plenty. Amazing, though, from the depths of despair. Just to repeat, he was 9-4 down to Kosovo's Fitim Haradinaj. He ended up winning filler earlier today. And on cloud 9, he stayed there.
Yeah, and I really think it's going to do a lot for both Filler and Gorst. Listen. Oh, that's a bad kiss right there. I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up that way. Gorst Filler final would be fascinating.
It can't be, though. They're in the same half of the draw.
I was hoping you wouldn't say that. Oh, look at this. Melling quick to the 1-9.
Yes, he's one of those players who, when he sees a combination on the 9-on, he will take it on. He doesn't shy away from that. For him, that was quite a simple proposition. And so, swiftly, he's back within 2 at 5-3.
Yeah, he had a little smirk because he knew he was leaving the white right behind the green. Wanted to point that out to everybody. Not me. He did. Right after he made the combination.
Little more daylight for Shane Van Boning. Breathing space. He's 6-4 up on Alexander Kazakis. And Fedor Gorst has won 3 in succession to lead Chang Yulong 3-1. The winner of Gorst Chang will play the winner of the match we're watching right here. Actually, talking about the different halves of the draw, SVB, Filler and Gorst all in the same half.
Yeah, well, somebody's going to have to go on that side. Well, there's a few of them that'll have to go. Got the one a little bit thin there. He got it down. Notice the cue ball tracking to the lower left corner. He's going to chip at this and come towards the 6.
Oscar Dominguez has averted the whitewash. He's won rack 11. He trails 10-1.
Yeah, never in his life was one game of Nineball so important.
A match that's getting more and more intense with each passing rack as the stakes increase. So do the nerves. An open table for Chris Melling. Fancy shot. Around 3 cushions, but pretty straight on the 7, so limiting Melling's options. Now we've seen some balls of this type missed this week. Quite a few actually. Predominantly through being overcut. The last thing Meling wants here is a skid to cause the 8 ball to straighten. Perhaps the most important shot of the match so far. Sweet. Meling equal to the task. He's back within 1 surely. Indeed, that's the case. Elliott Sanderson led 5-2. Now, though, it's only 5-4. Joshua Filler didn't complete the whitewash, but he did complete victory. He's beaten Oscar Dominguez 11-1. And now Filler awaits either Anton Raga or Mario He in the last 16 tomorrow. Still 3-1 for Fedor Gorsht over Chang Yulong. Victor Zielinski edging clear of Ralph Suke. Zielinski's a free-flowing, fast player. He's having his wings clipped a little by the methodical Suke this evening, but nevertheless, he's coping. He now leads 9-6. Piers Labutis and Wojciech Szewczyk still 8-all, and Shane Van Boning 3 clear once more against Alexander Kazakis. Van Boning leading 7-4.
Just millimeters from a golden break there. Cue ball continues to come low. He's got the kiss off the 9, and that's wide. Still struggling to get a shot at something good after the break. Sometimes you'll go a whole match like this. Sometimes you'll go a whole match where you're straight in after the break. That has a lot to do with the rules of the WNT. A lot of people talk about that. The reason they've done this is to make the game more difficult. And the players are in favor of it. And as a spectator myself, I also am a fan of it.
Well, it multiplies the variables.
Absolutely. Well, you're not jumping this one. look at the contact. That 9 threatened the upper right. Shaking his head a bit. Is he on the shallow side of this ball? Yeah, he is. He's just made an adjustment and hadn't gotten all the way off the ball, and that is typically a recipe for disaster. Now he's regrouped. Nice little rub. Kind of knew he was always going at that. The 8 does pass, and it doesn't take him long to get all tied up.
When Chris Meling trailed 5-2, I think there was genuine cause for a degree of concern. Now, though, he looks the stronger of the two, even though on the scoreboard there's nothing to choose between them. It is 5-5. Number of matches dwindling down now. The key points since the last time I told you the scores. Victor Zielinski has arrived on the hill against Ralph Souquet. He leads by 10 racks to 6. Anton Raga 4-3 over Mario He. I think a lot of people would like to see Phil Raga in the last 16. That would be intriguing.
Yeah, Raga definitely stood out to me this week. He has some ups and downs in his tournaments, right? When he's on the up end, man, he's fun to watch.
He's one of those players who moves on shots, and yet he's still okay.
Yeah, probably more body movement on every shot than any other player on tour. Oh, the cue ball right in behind the 3.
Yes, and apart from ball in hand for Elliott Sanderson, his work's been partially done for him because so many balls have disappeared.
Yeah, and I think Chris got a pretty bad series of kisses there in order to scratch like that. Take another look. Well, just one, really. But still, very unfriendly.
Not even a cluster to give him any kind of encouragement. They're all there.
Now in the United States, it's the middle of the afternoon. Well, here in Jeddah, it's going on 11 p.m. We're at the end of our work shifts.
Yeah, 3 o'clock on the West Coast. 6 p.m. on the East Coast. Actually, I've got that incorrect, haven't I? It's 1 o'clock on the West Coast. Four o'clock on the East. And talking about East and West, this rack should go west.
Really wanted to get a little more out of that there. Doesn't want to contact the 9. Yeah, he caught it real thick.
We've just been talking time zones. Can one of these two players get in the mythical zone and pull away? I just get the sense neither will. I think it will be a dogfight right to the end.
Yeah, that makes both of us. Yeah, nice. Real nice stroke right there. Stayed down quite well. He digs real good into the cue ball. Looks real sound.
Elliott Sanderson back in front. Chris Meling scratched off the break a little unluckily, one has to say, and that means Sanderson can once again regain the ascendancy. The 9-ball was easy peasy. Anton Wager maybe getting the better of Mario He. He leads 5-3. Rack 5 between Fedor Gorsht and Chang Yulong, quite a lengthy one. It's still 3-1 to Gorsht. Wojciech Szewczyk has just edged ahead against Piers Labutis at 9-8. Shane Van Boning still 7-4 up on Alexander Kazakis. Labutis from Lithuania, twice a semi-finalist, one of the World 9-Ball Tour's major events, including the UK Open last month.
Yeah, he's definitely one of them players that's knocking on the door of having a very, very good run of tournaments, in my opinion, with several wins in his future.
Problem is with sport, we were talking about this in another context earlier on today, you can never guarantee anything. You can never guarantee one until the breakthrough has been achieved. I think he's certainly got the credentials to do really well.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that he will win a few tournaments in the coming couple years. But it is tough at this level nowadays with all these great players to guarantee that, like you said, Phil.
Yeah, when we go to the European Open and the US Open in Fulda, Germany and Atlantic City, New Jersey, respectively, in August, both of those events will have double the participation of this. Instead of being 128, it will be 256 in the field. You've got to really fight your way through. Although, as a counterpoint to that, the quality of the early opposition isn't quite so sharp. Now, Sanderson needs to be sharp on this 3-ball.
Yeah, he was pretty sharp on the 2. Very clean. Got a little bit of a negative rub on the 7. And this is one doesn't feel too comfortable with. circle 5, hampering his bridge. Nice hit there. Just clearing 4.
I know that, Scott, you're well across all of the prize money implications. You'll tell us what they get for getting to the last 16 in a moment. What I can tell you is that if Sanderson books his place, that will be his biggest ever check.
Yeah, well, it's not small. It's $15,000 to win this match. They're guaranteed $7,000 as it stands. Not bad money. Just in case Elliott wins one more round, well, don't worry about it. He's locked in at $27,000. That goes for him or Melling if they win this match and one more. That would be the quarterfinals. So if you think about it, really only a match and a half away from the quarterfinals of the biggest 9-ball tournament in history.
And this is the house pro at McGoldrick's in Scotland when they had the Scottish Open there just before the UK Open. Last month he was doing 14-hour shifts in the club, carrying out all of the tasks he normally would, plus several others, putting in a double shift, as it were. He's dedicated to pool, dedicated to doing well, and he's dedicated to winning this match. The gap is back at 2, 7-5 in favour of Elliott Sanderson. Just going down the World 9-Ball Tour rankings, trying to find his name. Chris Meling is number 56. Elliott Sanderson, number 66. So if he could win this match with the additional 15,000 ranking points, he would zoom up maybe an improvement of 20 places. Certainly well over 10, just for winning this match. That's what's at stake. It isn't only the raw prize money, it's the ranking implications as well. That's what we're used to on the snooker tour as well. The big money tournaments really do change the status of players, where they lie in the pecking order. And they spend an awful lot of time looking at those rankings, I can tell you, because at the end of the season, if you're outside the top 64, you are relegated. That means a return to Q school, and that's something you do not want to be involved in.
Yeah, I would imagine it's probably pretty hard to get back out of that Q school.
Yes, and getting tougher by the year.
Okay, he's missed the one. First time in recent memory that that's happened. On the break. Just short. Nothing straightforward for Melling. Is he looking at the one off the 7? Yeah, I don't think so. Is he trying to tuck behind the 7?
That works.
Well, he's entertaining the jump, Phil. This is a big ball to get over at a close range. You're going to have to land on that one. And he's changed his mind. I can't fault him.
Result for you. Victor Zielinski has ended the brave run of Ralph Suke. Zielinski winning 11-6.
Oh, look at this shot. It's going to leave a shot, but a great hit. You got to tip your hat to the Kaiser. He's had a great tournament.
He has, but relative youth was served, and Zielinski now goes forward to play João Griot next.
Melling, he really is such a pure cueist. When he hits the ball clean, there's really nothing quite like it.
Yeah, the cue action is languid. There's that pause at the end of the backswing.
Wants to avoid contact with the 7. Speed looks good. Yeah, very easy to overhit this ball. I believe he's got the angle.
Yeah, not a great amount, but just enough.
Oh, yes. Flowing now, Chris Meling.
In many respects, I still think he looks the more likely winner, even though he's behind.
I'd have to agree. Don't want to get too cute here. Just come across. Stay above the left middle. Just take a little longer shot on the 9. Well done.
Given the dependability of his cue action, there should be no sweat.
Well, there is one issue, right? It's late at night. There's a lot of people in here, and you can't control everyone. Just kind of tells me he's not 100% focused, because a focused Chris Melling wouldn't notice what he just noticed.
The movement came at just the right time before he addressed the ball, so he was able to step away and he knocked it in the end. So Elliott Sanderson's lead again reduced, this time to 7-6.
Well, he used all of that pocket.
He does like a chirp, does Chris, and he's saying at the moment about the people walking behind the pocket. I do sympathise, though. It is very off-putting, but as you say, Scott, it is hard to police.
Well, and you say behind the pocket, if you were here on site talking about the people at home, I mean, we're still talking 20 plus feet, maybe even more than that.
Latest scores on the Matchroom Multisport YouTube channel. Shane Van Boening is on table 2, leading 7-5 against Alexander Kazakis. Wojciech Szewczyk on the hill against Piers Labutis at 10-8. Anton Raga 6-3 on Mario He, and the other match in progress, Fedor Gorst 4-1 over Chang Yulong. One goes in, followed by the 2 with a shot on the 3, and the 4 is available.
Yeah, just come over and back across the top of this row of balls, I think, Phil. Just avoid the 7. Well, everything getting to him. It's understandable.
At least he had the presence of mind to step away from the table, to regroup.
Yeah, he's he's lost the cue ball a little bit here, Phil. He's going to go into the brown. Made it look easy.
But the 5 is missed. Who would have thought it? That's a big error, and he cannot blame anyone for moving there because there was no one in that line of sight at all.
Yeah, you've got to wonder if he's just letting those little things carry over into the next shot.
What a bonus for Elliott Sanderson. Should be connecting the dots here. Darren Appleton was in the field, so too Jason Shaw, Chris Melling of course. And yet, Elliott Sanderson right now in line to be the last surviving Brit.
Probably a pretty good price on that before it started. But listen, this is where stars are made. Elliott up for the challenge. Well, he's gotten a little flat, but he's lefty. He can get to it, Phil.
Now the pouch where he keeps his chalk came off there. Luckily there was no ball in that vicinity. Had there been, that would have been a foul shot. Elliott Sanderson back 2 to the good at 8-6. He needs 3 more for the biggest win, certainly the most profitable win of his pool life. Mario He has just won rack 10. He trails Anton Raga 6-4. Fedor Gorst 5-1 over Chang Yulong. That's 5 consecutive racks because he lost the opener. Shane Van Boening still stuck at 7-5 over Alexander Kazakis. Wojciech Szewczyk still on the hill against Piers Labutis at 10-8. Just the 5 matches now carrying on. And even though it's a late hour locally, if Sanderson does win, it's going to be a case of E.T. Elliott phone home with the good news.
Yes, he will. You know, and it's, I guess, with a little help of Melling, but you've got to give Sanderson credit. He's picked up the pieces when he's needed to. Yeah, just short again, Phil, but the one tracks up to the top left, and look at this. A good one on the blue, too.
I will say, I thought the cue action there was really staccato. There's a lot of tension in that arm.
I've got to look up that term. I really like the sound of it.
It's a musical term. Classical music, it means bitty.
Well, he's fallen nicely here. Better to have a steep angle than no angle at all. He can come one rail over to the short side. It might do him better anyway. this to hop. Yeah, very nice. Believe he can come out 2 rails tight out of the lower right. And the 5 to the 6 will be the next challenge. So, does he just come a little bit above the 8, right where he put his cue? Easy here to decelerate or over-accelerate. You're always worried with this shot about going into the right middle. Therefore, that's where the deceleration comes in at times. Stay through the ball. Oh, and he did very nicely. Do you want to roll this or do you want to stun it forward? Yeah, stunned it. Can't blame him. Well, Phil, he's 3 away from a 3-game lead. Things starting to slip away from Melling.
Yes, the miss 5 ball in rack 14 could ultimately be extremely costly. But we must never underestimate the tension that Sanderson's feeling. Will it compromise his accuracy? Could have done with a few more inches on the cue ball to make this a gimme.
Yeah, I was going to say, you just get the feeling this is a little sketchy.
No problem, Elliott Sanderson. 9-6. He's 2 racks away from going through to the last 16 of the World Nineball Championship. I mentioned his cue action at the start on the break-off, saying it was staccato. Well, the actual definition of staccato in a musical sense is that the notes are detached. But it can describe anything, not just sounds. It means something that's made, done or happening in an abrupt or disjointed manner. And I think that applied to the cueing on the break-off, but from there on in, it was a lot more smooth.
Yeah, well, I think the sentence that you placed it in was probably as good as it gets, Phil. It sounded wonderful to me.
Also wonderful that Shane Van Boning has won the 13th rack. He leads Alexander Kazakis 8-5 now. And Chang Yulong has stopped the rot. He lost 5 racks in succession, but he's won the 7th to trail Fedor Korst 5-2. Oh, just when you think that Sanderson might be getting on top, what happens? The old scratch on the break.
Yeah, you got the kiss right off the bottom of the 9. It's actually what you're playing to do, is go into the 9, so a bit unlucky. Actually hit the break real well. Melling, you must take advantage.
Absolutely, this clearance just imperative. It's really, really important that he doesn't allow Sanderson to get on the hill. Keep him away from that. because of course when Sanderson gets to the hill, he'll be breaking off next.
Melling known at times to have a little bit of a loose cue ball. Everything okay here.
Tell you what, Scott, it's not been a slow-moving match, this. Yes, a few tactical racks, but by and large, it's been good stuff. Chris Meling will be delighted with that. Now he hopes that his break-off in rack 17 is a lot more productive. Fast approaching 11:30 local time. It does seem that Fedor Gorst will be the last man off this evening. And in that regard, you have to say it's another chapter in a book of very hard work during the World Nineball Championship of 2024 for Gorst.
Yeah, since day one, it seems like every match for him has been very hard work. I mean, very simply put, very hard work. I keep wondering when it's going to get easier, but it may not.
Well, so far, the match he's involved in seems to be the easiest of the lot. But things can change. What a break-off that was.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I guess I was just referring to, the speed of the match. It seems like they might be having some safety battles within a few of the games, even though he's leading nicely. Does the 3 play in the middle? It looks like it does. Does he want to play it in the middle? That's another question, Phil. I think he's coming down to the corner here. Well, at least evaluating.
It's been a good half an hour or so for Poland. Viktor Zielinski through against Ralf Suke, and now Wojciech Szewczyk through against Piers Labutis, 11-8.
Oh, this is a nice strike. Pinch of inside ball here and just come up right of the 9. Don't underhit this. This is going to be perfect. Well, that rack.
You mark that ball and then take it away. Mark this ball, lift it, and move it. Yes, I know. I do it that.
I think the referee is calling in Marcel Eckhart to complete this operation. It should be relatively simple, but of course, Eckhart's got years of experience. He's actually asking the referee in charge of this section of the arena to do the job himself.
Well, Marcel is here. And what Chris is telling him is just mark the 9 ball, remove the 9, and the rack will come up. No problem. The problem is maybe that the marker will end up over where the rack belongs. Oh, Marcel's got another tool.
He's got more markers than a casino regular. Absolutely terrific at his job, Marcel Eckhart.
Yeah, he's a fine gentleman as well.
And straight after this, you know, what an assignment he's got. He's going to the Championship League, the first world ranking event on the snooker season. He's flying directly from here to Leicester, and he starts work straight away, and he's there for 3 weeks solid.
Oh, wow.
He just has the Sundays off. We play Monday to Saturday for 3 consecutive weeks, and then Monday to Wednesday the last week. So he's going to be there for 20 odd days. And you know his standards will never slip.
Well, as he landed a little flat here, he's going to stun up, or down, I should say. Oh, nicely done, Chris Melling. Within one, very soon.
Four-one down at his lowest ebb. The only time he's been in front in the match was 1-0. On several occasions he's been within one rack, trailing 5-4, 6-5, 7-6, and now 9-8. Can he draw level?
Yeah, Phil, it was 9-6. When that man on the right of your screen got a bad kiss off the 9 on the break. Scratched behind the 3 in the lower right corner. Since then, it's been the man on the left.
Two big guns firing. Fedor Gorst 6-2 on Chang Yulong, and Shane Van Boning 9-5 over Alexander Kazakis. Seems as though Van Boning is taking command.
Well, both good signs for America. Gorst and Van Boning. The one is down. Phil, I believe the pink has the 2 covered up a little bit to the lower left.
Yeah, quite often Chris Melling takes on combinations that raises eyebrows. This one, surely it's a matter of being circumspect.
Yeah, laying very awkward too. If he rolls it, he'll get position, but I can't imagine him rolling this. And I can't blame him for doing that. Will he find the gap for Sanderson?
Yeah, there's a time and a place for everything. That combination just wasn't viable.
Well, I believe he's hit the gap as well, Phil.
I'll change my vocabulary there. It was viable, but it wasn't sensible.
I thought he might go at the bank there and just kind of slide downward. He had plenty of room to bank the ball, clearly, because he could have played a two-way. Not faulting him. He's there, and I'm here.
And also, pressure clouds the mind, doesn't it? That's the thing. You assume that pressure would get in the cue arm and cause you to snatch on a few shots, that kind of stuff, and it does. But it's also about how it downgrades the mental process.
Yeah, without a doubt, it can affect the mind. Oh, the music definitely picking up the pace.
Yeah, the loudness of the music has definitely increased in the last few moments. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. It was a sort of background track, and now it's in the face, or in the ears.
Yeah, this is a bit tricky. You don't want to catch it too thin, but you've got to try and make it. Could scratch off the back of the 4. Well, he's caught it too thick. Might end up just fine.
Chris Melling does have a tendency to, at times, think the world's against him. Now here, he has been extremely unfortunate. Yes, there's no doubt about it. But what can he do? All he can do is maximise his concentration and try and turn things around. No point feeling aggrieved because it doesn't achieve anything.
Yeah, well, he's coming 2 rails towards the back of the 2, I believe. Or is he going 1 rail and trying to make it? Two rails to the back of it. Yeah, I'm assuming he wanted to catch that real full and maybe use the 8 as cover. Caught it too thin, Phil.
Yeah, open table for Elliott Sanderson, and you've got to wonder whether Chris Melling's latest attempt to tie the scores is going to be thwarted.
Yeah, at this point, it's all about Sanderson controlling the nerve. Can he do it to get within 1 of the final 16? No, just about missed that ball. You asking to clean the cue ball? Well, there's a certain fact that ball did not skid, because if it would have gone to the top side of the middle pocket.
Yeah, they don't skin or skid thin, do they? That's
No.
the point.
But that isn't to say he didn't see something on the cue ball. So, in his defense, clean away.
Absolutely. 2.
And short with the 1. He's going to have a look at it as well. By a shot on the 2. If he gets past the pink 4 here, I think we could have a hill-hill match.
Just left that cue ball a little awkwardly though. Needs the bridge.
Yeah, he'd like to have been a little further to the right of the 6. He just didn't want to be on the left side of the 3 because he didn't want to deal with the 5.
There you can see that versatile bridge. You can use it either way.
Yeah, well, he's got some work to do here. He's got to get on the purple. Does he go up and take the cut on the left side of the 6? Or can you get through the 7 to the right side of the table? That's what he's evaluating at the moment. Yeah, I don't think he thought he was going to catch the 7 that thin. Pretty sure he thought he would end up somewhere just above center table. But he did want to ensure a shot on the purple. That's why he hit it with the speed he hit it. I believe he's going to take the cut on to the lower right. It's got sideboards with the black 8. You've got to hit it pretty bad to use the black 8. Well, he used the black 8, and he's on with it. 6 to the top left corner. Well, Phil, he's on the 9. We're going to the hill.
Wow, what a match. Melling did really well there. I think he's reserved his best for the last couple of racks. He's played them beautifully when his back was firmly pressed against the wall. We are going the full distance. We're going to the wire. Maybe Shane Van Boning is as well. He was 9-5 up on Alexander Kazakis. It's now 9-7. Anton Raga 9-6 over Mario He. And Fedor Gorst 8-2 on Chang Yulong. Remember, Gorst or Chang, looks increasingly like Gorst, will play the winner of Melling or Sanderson. They're not thinking about that right now. They're just thinking about getting over the line in this one. And I tell you what, nerves will be raw in this all-important 21st rack.
Yeah, Melling to break. Never in his life would he like what we call a roadmap more than right now. Well, the 1 is down. The 2 laying in the lower right. He's got an open table, Phil.
Dare I say, in a deciding rack, roadmap. Dare I say it? There's no such thing under this kind of pressure, surely.
Yeah, he's just looking to get up just a fraction above the 3. $8,000 riding on this rack. The winner guaranteed $15,000. The loser, well, they've got 7.
One heart will be broken. Is the shouter going to be silenced? Remember, Melling has missed a bad 5 ball already in this match in rack 14.
Yeah, he's okay here, but he's going to have to put some pace on it. Over and out with a low right ball. Watch out, black. Just in time, Phil.
Put the brakes on as Melling's heart was skipping a beat. And again, that cue ball picking up chalk.
Yeah, you can't fault Melling. But one thing you can think about is he's a momentum player. Does it hurt him to do that? He should be out. Phil, we can't ask for much better match than this.
Elliott Sanderson has that sinking feeling. So near, and maybe, probably, so far.
And it's all changed after the scratch behind the 3 in the lower right.
The 9-ball wiggled and wobbled, but it just about went in, to the immense relief of Chris Meling. This week he's gone through the pain barrier with the gout he's been suffering, but now he's feeling just good feelings. And I'll tell you what, that caught an awful lot of the far jaw before finally toppling in and ending what was a terrific, a gripping match. Elliott Sanderson came so close to the biggest win of his life, to the biggest check of his life. But it is Chris Meling, the more experienced man, the former China Open champion, the former Derby City Classic 9-ball champion, the former Mosconi Cup MVP, who brings his experience to bear. He played brilliantly, I thought, under pressure in the last 3 racks. He wins 11-10. He's into the last 16. He's on $15,000 now, and he will play either Fedor Gorst or Chang Yulong tomorrow.